Gaza, the U.S. military building that floating pier. It is now ready to get in 500 tons of desperately needed food and humanitarian supplies to the people of Gaza. ABC's Matt Gupman with late reporting from Israel now.
New images tonight of that U.S.-built floating pier now anchored to the beach in Gaza, just south of some of the heaviest fighting. About twice as long as an aircraft carrier, the pier will allow desperately needed aid to be brought by ship directly into Gaza. About 1,000 U.S. military personnel involved, but it'll be up to the UN to coordinate distribution, and U.S. officials stress there will be no boots on the ground. The first delivery of 500 tons of aid expected within days.
You should really think of this as a crawl, walk, run. It's going to start off small and scale up.
It comes at a critical moment, with fighting in Rafah choking off aid by land and daily blockades from small groups of Israelis. Today, we witnessed these men stopping trucks.
So what they're trying to do is block trucks like this, you can see this kid running, and demand the ID of the drivers. That's how they know whether they're delivering aid or not. Easy.
The soldier offering the agitators information about the aid convoys, then coming out and threatening us not to film it. It comes as Israel increasingly seems bogged down in Gaza. 5 were killed in a friendly fire incident in northern Gaza, where the IDF says Hamas has regrouped.
David, back to that pier. Israel has guaranteed security on shore, but U.S. officials tell us there will be American troops at the far end of the pier in order to receive that aid, but that's the closest they'll get to land. And those officials say they're not aware of any direct threat to those troops, but they do acknowledge, David, that this is not without risk.
So update on the U.S. operations in Gaza. 3 U.S. soldiers were just hurt. The details are kind of sketchy. Not sure if it was an attack by militants, or was it a friendly fire incident or what, but I'm still waiting for more information on that. Came out of an Indian newspaper. Haven't seen much on the U.S. side, but yeah, 3 U.S. soldiers, 1 critical, a couple minor injuries, some type of incident on that pier. So, but this is really just, the beginning. So basically, this is basically just, looks like a stealth U.S. operation. So they're gonna go in under the guise of like, oh yeah, we're just providing, first we're setting up to send in humanitarian aid, food and relief supplies, and then they're gonna send in troops. Because today, like I said, today you have 3 U.S. troops that have been hurt in some kind of incident. Like I said, they're keeping it under wraps, kind of quiet. I guess we'll get more details later, but they're not able to get rid of Hamas. And then with the amount of indiscriminate killing that they've done of the population, Hamas has found it very easy to recruit fighters to replenish their ranks. So Hamas is probably still, they say, well, it's 30,000 Hamas fighters. We gotten rid of 10,000. That's probably not. They probably replenished those people. They've killed like almost 100,000 people. So out of the 100,000 people they've killed, more than likely, a lot of their family members have, even if they were against Hamas, they're with them now. So they probably, you can recruit out of those 100,000 dead people. It'd probably be very easily for Hamas to recruit, 5,000, men, women, anybody to help them fight, right? When you do that kind of thing, you kill somebody's, 5-year-old baby. I think they found a baby in a tree where they had, blew up a building and blew a baby. The baby was still alive somehow, right? And it was in a tree. And I was like, wow, that's incredible, right? So you can imagine, somebody find their dead baby in a tree. It won't be very hard to convince them to fight. I don't care how much of a coward they are or whatever, right? If they found their dead baby and hanging in a tree, at the hands of some people that have been, spitting on them, oppressing them and stealing their land and killing their grandparents since 1948, it would be very easy, even if they didn't like Hamas, to say, hey, listen, man, why don't you come with us to avenge your baby and your grandparents, right? So yeah, this is one hell of a recruitment mechanism, and so yeah, but this whole U.S. operation is basically them setting up shop where they're gonna try to, I guess, send troops through that humanitarian bridge into Gaza to support the Israelis who are losing the war. There's, so-called, it's a war, but I guess it would be more of a war on civilians, right? A genocide, so they're losing a genocide. I don't know how you lose a genocide, right? Like you go in, and genocide a population, and then you still lose, right? You kill 100,000 people and you still losing. It says a lot about you, right? So they need help. So the Americans are gonna go in through this bridge and try to help them fight Hamas and I guess eventually Hezbollah, and it's going to fail. I mean, this is Vietnam all over again. I said that if you go back, a few months ago, I said this is Vietnam all over again. That proved to be true. They can't get rid of Hamas, and I believe they said like these guys got a tunnel. Their tunnels they dug in, and probably 70% of those tunnels still exist. So, and they obviously they have large stockpiles over the years. They didn't stop. They have large stockpiles of weapons. So they're dug in, and they're fighting their ass off. And not to mention, they have the moral authority. So it's hard to fight somebody when that's not your land, right? You're just a fanatic. But this is these people indigenous land basically. They've been here for, 1,000 years. As opposed to somebody showed up 20 years ago or 50 years ago, So they're gonna fight, and fight to the death. So yeah, it's gonna get interesting now that you see the U.S. sending troops. They're interjecting troops in to Gaza, right? So basically, we have full-blown World War III at this point. You got the U.S. Encouraging the Ukrainians, giving them weapons and encouraging them to strike Moscow, and then and they said that the Russians are bluffing about bombing the UK, who I guess is leading that whole charge. They're not bluffing. Russia is going to strike the UK soon, and or at least some UK targets. They may take out some of their ships, something like that. But they're gonna, and then eventually they're gonna strike London pretty soon. I'd say within the next 12 months. And now you got the U.S. basically sending troops into Gaza, so it's gonna get hot. I mean, World War III has gone hot. So that's all I got.